I was ashamed of what I wrote. But it wasn't that. It was because when I first came to New York, right from college in the 1950s, I couldn't get an agent. I tried and sent my things around, and I just couldn't. And I was assistant to the file clerk at Dutton Publishing. So I printed my own stationery, and I became an agent with many, many pseudonyms. I was my only client. And I had luck with a lot of the pseudonyms, particularly a suspense name, Vin Packer. And I went to my editor finally and said, you know, I'm going to go honest, I'm going to use my own name. He said, nobody knows it. You can't use your own name. So I continued to use Vin Packer for my suspense name. I have done a lot of YA books as Emmy Kerr, and a lot of stories for slips that don't exist anymore, like Ladies' Home Journal, Cosmopolitan, and so forth. And I even did confession writing, and I had a couple I called Edgar and Mamie Stone, and the confession editors wanted to meet them. And this old couple, I said, oh no, they're very old, and they don't travel. And I left my apartment one summer, and the editor called, and there was a young man occupying my apartment, and he said, oh no. He said, Edgar and Mamie Stone are on Fire Island. Anyway, so I think that our workshop is the only workshop in the Hamptons that you can't get into just by paying. We like to have a professional posture, and so a chapter or the first 10 pages of something you're working on has to be okayed so that we can be sure you can contribute to the group and the group can contribute to you. I started this in 1982 because I had just moved from New York in the late 70s, and I so much missed the casual talk about writing that you have a benefit of having in New York. You can have lunches and meet people and so forth. And so I put an ad in the Star saying that I was going to form a writing group at Ashawagh Hall, and sure enough, 22 people showed up the first night, and some of them are still with the workshop. One is Reverend Stewart back there, and Carolyn, or not Carolyn, I'm sorry, Carol. You were among the early ones, yes, who are still with the class, so that's fun. Anyway, we will have a question and answer period at the end for those of you who are interested. But more interesting right now, and I've got Steve here to help me. Steve, you better explain, because I'm not good at technical stuff. Please explain.
We have, right now Anna's taping some excerpts of today's talk, and what we've done with last night's and the previous years is we've uploaded them to YouTube. So if you go on to youtube.com and type in Ashawagh Hall Writers, you'll get all the clips that were filmed here. Also, if you go to www.easthamptonlibrary.com and click on the little YouTube balloon on our homepage, it'll take you right to the library's YouTube, where you could see the videos that were filmed last night. There's a few from last year's talk on there. Today's will be on there. And you can also view all the library's other videos and programs that were filmed in this room and around the library throughout the past couple of years.
Thanks, Steve. That's wonderful. It was T.J. Purcell who was filming last year. And so anyway, I'll let the artists, the writers, I'm sorry, introduce themselves. And as I say, at the end, we'll have a question and answer period very short. Thank you. And please say your name and any credits you might have or anything that might interest you about you. So we're going to start with you, right, Ira? Could you stand up a minute and let people see you?
What I have to do for them.
Yeah. Okay. And tell people about yourself.
I don't know what there is to tell. I spent a number of years in the advertising business. In addition to that, as a management consultant born a writer.
Hold the mic closer.
I was born a writer, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you don't have the talent, you don't feel compelled to use it. If you do, you feel burdened if you don't use it. Therefore, there was always this conundrum about earning a living and putting words on paper. And balancing that was what was very difficult, and I think is for most writers, because very few writers, except Mary Jane who has 92 names, can actually earn a living writing. What I'm going to read to you from today is the first few pages. We're all limited to 10 pages of reading. And I'm going to read the opening pages of a completed manuscript called For the Love of Grass.
For the love of.
For the Love of Grass.
Move as close as you get to the mic.
Even on the microphone. For the Love of Grass is a novel. The title is derived from the great diaspora in the 50s, from city to suburb. I was recently asked what the greatest invention I thought was of the 20th century, and I answered and still stay by that answer. I think the answer is the suburbs, because it changed America entirely. And this story is seen through the eyes of an adolescent who grows up in Brooklyn. The part you're going to hear, he's not quite an adolescent. And it tells of his tribulations as an adolescent per se, his conflicts within his family, and then their adaptation or lack thereof when they depart for the suburbs, which come